Hi everyone, today I thought I would have a go at colouring this grasshopper from, I think it's a grasshopper, and I've got a list here actually of all the animals that are in the book. This is, the book is, Wildlife Wonders by Millie Marotta. Oops, I've got a book underneath because we're at the end of the book. I'm leaning on another book. It is a grasshopper, but what I'm going to do to start with is do a background using some soft pastels. I'm going to use my Mungyo soft pastel and do a background and then colour with pencil on top. Now I'm going to put the background over everything, including the grasshopper and the grass, because I'm going to do them all in greens, and so I'm going to do a background in yellows and greens, and so it would all work on top. So I just thought I would show you how to do that. So I'm going to start with having a look at the pastels and showing you how I'm going to choose. Now I rather like these sort of olive green tones. I'm actually going to start with this one, put a fair bit of that down, and then I will darken some areas with this one, and I might lighten some areas with these. I need to be careful with these, got some red on, so make sure they're clean before I use them or turn them over. But I'm going to apply with this is a makeup washable makeup sponge. You do get stained from the pastels, but it does wash out and you can reuse them. Now what I do, let me bring you across this way so you can see what I am doing. So I take my cloth and just wrap it around my finger a little bit like that, and then rub it onto the colour that I want. As I said, this is the colour I'm going to be using the most. I get a nice amount on the cloth like that, just keep going. Now I need to hold my page down. I'm using another one. I'm going to fold it in half because I've used them. I've used most of mine. They actually need to wash. Hold the page down with another one and just start rubbing away and adding the colour. Now I've done this technique before, not on video, but last time I did it, I put a layer of fixative. I sprayed some fixative on the page once I'd applied my pastels. And what that meant was that I could colour the page without having to worry about smudging the pastel all over the place or getting greasy fingerprints onto the pastel, which can affect the way it looks. That was fine, but the spray fixative left a rough feeling. Ooh, I just knocked against an orange which was there. I'm going to move that. Left a sort of tooth on my paper, which I didn't really like. Hang on. So I need to move to a new bit of cloth because I knocked on that reddy orange colour and picked a bit of that up. I don't want that in my page. So I sprayed this spray, and it left, as I say, it left it quite toothy, which made it quite difficult to colour. So this time I'm not going to spray it, but what I have to do is be very careful because obviously I don't want to get the pastel background greasy or smudged or anything like that. So what I'm going to do is make sure I lean on something. You can just lean on the piece of paper when you colour, and that will help to stop that smudging. Hang on. There we go. Now this process takes a fair bit of time, but it's certainly a lot quicker than trying to do it by hand with pencils. I mean, if you were trying to cover this with pencils, you'd have done very little by now. But this is quite a pale colour. It takes a bit of working into this paper. You can see it's quite messy at the minute. Now this technique of rubbing onto the sponge and then rubbing onto the page, now this isn't the technique that everybody uses. What some people do is take a little knife and they scrape bits of pastel onto the page and then rub it in afterwards. Now I used to do that and it works very well, but it makes a mess. you usually end up scraping off too much. It goes all over the desk, all over you, all over the place, and I'm a messy person, so I needed to find a much cleaner way of doing it. So I found that by rubbing like that, it was cleaner. It doesn't make a mess all over the place, and for me that was a lot better. So it's all a matter of personal choice really as to what method you find works. Now, it's quite hard work this. It's giving me a bit of cramp in my hand actually. And I think if you've got a lighter colour it takes a bit more work to get it down on the page, but also it depends on the paper. Some paper can take a lot more easily than others. And it also depends on how intense you want your colour. That's very much a personal taste, of course. I was looking to try and make it look quite dark. I did quite a fun page the other day, which I'll tell you about while I'm doing this. Was I coloured the main item. It was you might be familiar, Miniature Enchanted Forest. Right at the back there's a couple of pages with bears on that Johanna drew specifically for that book. Most of the pictures in the book are just the same as the main book, but you get a few bonus ones at the end. And the bear, I'd coloured in the bear just very plain brown. There were two. It was the one on the left hand page without leaves on, just for those of you who do know what I'm talking about. And it was quite plain. So what I did was I got a pastel, this colour, these colours here, these sort of goldy yellows, and did the main part of the background with those. And then I got some darker ones and did little blobs and splodges with the really dark brown, like this one here, just to make it look less plain. And then I got some gold stickles and put them onto a bit of kitchen paper, just a tiny bit, like, you know, just that big, and then splattered them on the page, splodge, splodge, splodge. So I didn't get a big lump of stickles, so I just got them spread out to just create a little bit of a shine. I've done it in another book as well, like that. It's quite fun to get a little bit of glitter into your background. I thought it was quite fun. You'll see it in my completed pages for July, so I'll show you that. But it was a lot of fun, and I could show you on a video, but I've done it twice now, so I'll do it again. Now here, I've gone over the edge onto the next page, but the good thing with pastels, soft pastels, is that they erase just like pencil, and in fact they erase more easily than pencil. Most of them don't stain the page and just erase, so I will worry about that later. Now we've got quite a base colour down now, and it's not very smooth, it's not very even, but what I want to do is to try and make this bottom bit a little bit darker and this top bit a bit lighter, so I can work on that now. I've got the sort of base down. So I was saying about doing a darker one, so I'm going to go to this darker one here, and I'm going to hold on with this again, just work down here a little bit with this darker colour, just darken it up. Now with pastels I find you do have to be a little bit careful, because when you use the darker colours they can look a bit dirty and muddy, particularly the browns. So be aware of what you're doing and the effects that you want to get. You can always try it on other paper first, scrap paper. I did say rough paper the other day, people weren't quite sure what I meant. When I was at school we used to have what's called a rough book, and it was where you did your rough work, which means your practice work or your workings out or things like that. And so I've sort of got that phrase. I'm going to do a lighter bit again, back to the lighter one here. So that's where that phrase sort of comes from. Now in the top I'm going to do a bit more yellowy colour, so I'm going to get a slightly cleaner bit of, I think I might do these golds rather than these bright yellows. I think it might work better. I think I'll do this one. I'm going to put it on quite gently. Now you notice that it's gone into the spine there, the crumbs. I don't know if you can see. I can brush those out later. Now with soft pastels, the more you put on, the more intense your colour. And you layer it up just like you would with a pencil. So it's a case of just persevering with your layers until you get the finish that you're looking for. Now I'm thinking green were in a sort of, I'm just going to use a bit of my original colour again here. Look, there's hardly any here. We're sort of in a foresty type, gardeny type, greeny area. So look at that. I'm going to go in with some, see, I'm looking at my colours and I'm thinking I quite like some darker greens, but these are much more bluey. So I'm not sure if I use them how it'll look. What I'm going to do, I'm going to try something. I'm going to grab this green here. It's not too dark. It's a little bit darker, and I'm going to just splodge it about a bit. Like that. And I think it might look a bit like leaves. Like we've got a sort of leafy background. And around here. And you have to be a bit confident with this. And go for it. And hope that it's going to work. As I say, you can practice. But I think it looks a bit more interesting than just a plain background. And because pastels can be hard to smooth, it's a way of getting away with it. If you know what I mean. We've got a really dark green here, look there. I'm going to go for it. Look how dark that is. It's quite bluey actually. Delicately pat it on here and there. Now if you've got some green stickles, they would look really nice with the same technique. This is the technique I used with the Skittles. I was going to say Skittles, no, not Skittles, Stickles. So just splodge. Now try and include the foreground in your, just because otherwise it's hard to get it even. And you're going to be colouring over the top of that anyway. I quite like some yellow splodges, but I don't know if they're going to show up. I'm going to try it anyway. This one here has got a lot of yellow on, my other cloth. I'm going to go for this really bright yellow here. I'm just going to turn it over because it's got some pink on it. It's got blue on that side, hang on. Just clean it off first with that cloth and put that away, and use this one to pick up the actual colour. I'm not sure if it's going to show up. We'll find out. Oh, it is. Now I see people use this technique with watercolour paint and I think it looks amazing, but I'm not a painter. I've tried a bit of watercolour, it's okay, but it's not really my thing. So this is much more fun. I feel like I'm 5 and I'm in nursery school. Not that I went to nursery school. I started school at 4 and probably did things like this. So yeah, I think some green stickles would look nice, but you wouldn't do them now. You would do them at the end, once you've done all the colouring. Okay, so now I'm going to get the brush. I'm going to just brush off all those loose bits. And there is our background. Now you could do it darker. I'm going to add in a few areas where I think it's lacking in colour. I've got to find the right bit on my sponge. So I'm going back to the original colour and just trying to fill it here. I'm going to use the splotting technique now. It's an official word, splotting, because we've used that already. If I rub, I might rub that dark into a patch, which isn't what I want to do. And there we go. Okay, I'm going to make that do. As I say, you can make it more darker and more vibrant if you want to. And then we can come in now with our pencils. Now, our grasshopper hasn't got that much colour on it, but that's fine because we're going to colour it in pencil. Okay, so let's move away our pastels. In fact, I'm going to put the lid on so I don't spill them all over the floor, because I have done that before. Right, now I've got a piece of folded paper, which is what I'm going to be leaning on when I colour. Okay, and I've got some pencils, but they're miles away over here. Ooh. I'm going to use my Ergosofts, because they've got the colours that I want, and they're nice and small. We've got a lot of details going on here. Now I'm going to make the grasshopper sort of earthy greens like this, and then do the branches in a slightly different shade of green, I think is my plan. I don't know what colour these grasshoppers normally are. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to go my own way. So let's come in a little bit closer and make a start. As I say, at this point you could spray on some fixative before you let's move you into the middle. There we go. Before you start colouring. But I'm going to just, oops, I'm just going to try and sharpen my pencil. And then there we go. So I'm using the number 57 for the antennae. What I'm going to do for these is just press quite hard near the bottom, put quite a few layers in, and then less as we go up. I'm going to use the same colour for the whole antennae. Now you could do this very differently. You could choose to make it darker on the edges, so it looks more three-dimensional, but I'm choosing to follow Millie's little lines. And you can see that because the background isn't really dark, the colouring, the pencil stands out, which is all part of the plan. And my plan is to try and layer it up near the bottom, have less at the top. I'm trying to make it even though. So more layers here, and then less up here. Like that. Now my husband's back to go to work, so I'm just going to stop and say goodbye to him. Right, I am back and this one is going to be done in exactly the same way. So I'm trying to fade it up as I go within each section by doing more layers near the bottom. It's quite tricky on such a small bit, but I'm trying my best. That's all I can do. Now, this one isn't quite as dark. That's better. I need to find my slightly sharper edge of the pencil, and that helps. There we go. It's quite dull this morning. It's supposed to get really hot this week, which I'm not looking forward to. What I've decided to do is I'm going to do all the limbs in this darker colour. So here as well, can you still see? Yeah. like that, so dark coming down to lighter. Whoops. Quite light there, dark there, and darker in there to lighter there. Okay, and probably this bit as well. And then this one. Now the main body, I'm just going to sort of acknowledge each section. I'm sort of using a technique I would use for roof tiles, where I do it a bit darker nearer the base and lighter towards the tip. Here. And so the main body I will do with the slightly lighter green. Now if you don't have this 36, if you only have 24, you can just continue with this one. Like that. I'm not going to do all the other limbs. They do differ. See, this one has a sort of leafy pattern on. This one is and would be done in a similar way to this. This one with the leafy pattern. Hold on. Let me just move it up into shot. Whoops. So what I would do here is do this background bit sort of lightly. Like that, and then each leaf maybe make a little bit darker at the bottom. Like that, so it just stands out a little bit. I think it's quite nice to sometimes acknowledge the design. And so here just do dark to light like we have already. Same with all of these larger legs. A little bit more complex, but I would tend to do the outside piece fairly dark. So quite a lot of layers on this one. All the way down each side. I'm being a bit scruffy. And then around this bit, we do it dark around the edge. Fade it a bit into the middle. Like that. And then do the inside one slightly lighter, so maybe overdo that one a few times to make it quite a lot darker. Oops, never mind. And then this one a bit lighter. Like that, and then for this one do this sort of pattern, start darker here, go lighter there, all the way through. I'm not going to do all of it now. Oh, sorry, my nose is running. Now the grasshopper has an eye, which I've sort of ignored up until now. Oh, excuse me. So let's bring him back into shot. We zoomed in as much now. I'm a little bit closer for you. Now I think the best thing to do with the eye is to just use some black. We have, trying to reach, I moved it a long way away. Number 9 is our black. Now I go all the way around the edge, really quite dark, but then start to reduce. So we come in towards the middle. There we go. So that's his eye. Now for his body, we're using this slightly lighter green, the 56. But I'm going to do the same sorts of techniques as I've been doing already. So for example here, lighter at the bottom. I'm sorry, darker at the bottom. Less layers towards the top. And just do that all the way through. I love this colour. Like that. So it's actually darker around the eye. Probably. It doesn't really matter where you choose to make it darker. I'm going to make it dark around the eye and fade it out. It doesn't really matter as long as you've got some sort of pattern going on. So this is the main. I'm going to break these shapes into groups, so that whole bit there, darker there, this bit's darker by the eye and lighter there. This bit probably darker. I'm going to make it darker all the way around the edge here and lighter as we go in towards the centre, like that. So there are lots of different ways to approach it, and I'm just going to continue doing that for the whole of him. I'm not going to show you all of him because he's got a lot going on. I'm going to show you a bit of his plant though. Ooh. There we go. So the we've got a few different greens to pick from. We've got the very bluey dark greens like the 38 and the 5. I'll show you. But I don't want to really go that dark, so I'm just going to use, oh, sorry, I'm going to use the number 52, and I'm going to use the same technique. So darker here, can you see? I did choose one you could see, that's lucky. Here, and then just fade gently to the tip. And I am going to do every single one of these in that same way, like that. All the way through the whole of the grass, and I'm not going to show you every single bit. I just get carried away having fun colouring now. But I think I may stop here and finish this on my own because I'm going to run out of things to say. But you can see how relaxing and simple this is, doing this technique. It's a lot of fun. I also need to go and make a cup of coffee. But I will finish this and I will put a finished picture up. Now I realise that this grass is quite simple compared to the body, but just trust your instincts and have fun. So I've got this bit here. I'm just going to make it darker here and then lighten up to here. But had I done it the other way around and made it dark at the top and lighter at the bottom, would it have made any difference? Not really. It doesn't really matter. Lighter up there. Just makes it look a little bit different. You could just colour it all plain colouring and then just let the pattern shine through. It's completely up to you. Yeah, I'm just sort of breaking it down into sort of easy to see sections, easy to manage sections, and going for it. And because the pastel work is fairly light, I've just left it on there. You could erase it, because as I told you before, you can erase pastel. So you could erase it from the bits you're colouring. And obviously if you've done a background that's blue, and you want to do yellow or something, you're going to end up with green if you don't erase your blue bits. So you need to just be aware of that. But I purposely knew that I was going to colour everything green. So I knew the green background would just work over everything, and actually having a bit of background over your main picture helps you to get going with it really. I'm not colouring white paper, which means that it's sort of already got a base there for me, so that's pretty cool. So there's that bit, just to give you another section. this long bit I'm just going to do in one. So I'm just going to do it dark there and lighter as I go up. And then I'm going to do it again because at the top it doesn't look like I've done any. Just colour it up like that. Yeah, so I'm going to go. Thank you for watching. I hope that was interesting and a bit different and fun for you. If I come out, you can see the background better. It looks fairly pale when I'm close up, but as I come out, hopefully you can see, compared to the white paper, that there is a background there, and you can see a few splodges, which, you know, I think is fun. So I will get this done, and I will pop a picture at the end for you to see. So, so that's me for today. So thank you for watching. I hope you have a really lovely day, and happy colouring.